Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ask Abhinav show. In this video, Megan asks, can you please talk about grief versus regular depression and social isolation? For many people, it's hard to look and notice that they're the same type of feeling with a lot of the same symptoms and behavior, but they're distinctly different. Why? Because grief usually has a time limit attached to it, right? You're not going to grieve forever. And depression can be kind of a mixed bag of things. So, great question, Megan. Thank you for sending it over. Here we go. So, whether you're going through a divorce, loss of friendship, or loss of a loved one, I want you to remember that this is something that every human being has to go through in their life at some point or another. We all came from a generation behind us, and at some point in life, people that come across our paths, they tend to leave us. So I want you to first and foremost know that you are for sure not alone in this experience of life. Okay, this is partly what makes us human, is the fact that we are mortal, we have a limited amount of time, and that we get to take off from this world. The challenge that a lot of people face when they're grieving is their mind is consumed by that information, the new set of events that have taken place, which have pretty much displaced the normalcy in your life. You're consumed now thinking about what took place versus being able to focus on what you need to be doing. So if you're feeling like this, first and foremost, I want to help you remember that you're now recognizing that this is happening within you. And if this is happening within you, just remember that you have to go through this process. There's really no shortcut around it. You don't just grieve on the weekdays and not on the weekends, and only in the daytime and not at night. It's a 24/7 thing, and you just have to get through the process. Now, here's what I think can help you if you're grieving. I want you to stop repeating the story over and over again to other people, to yourself, about the loss that you've experienced. The reason being, because every time you're doing that, you're recollecting that memory and you're bringing that pain back into your current state of being. What you can rather do is find an activity that you can do and do it continuously. Why? Like a physical activity, taking a walk, working out, riding a bike, whatever physical activity you do is going to release chemicals in your body that are going to help you support this sort of low state that you are in. This is a great time to start writing. It's one of the best ways to slow down your thinking process, and it's a great start when you're trying to reassess what's important in life. What a great way to start this process, by noting down all the things that you still have in your life that you can be thankful for, starting with the heart that beats in your chest and the breath that exists within your body. What two great things to start when we're talking about life. These are things that have been given to us without asking. Now, I'm definitely going to take this a different direction and talk about what I really believe is going to work for everyone out there that is grieving or feeling that they're falling into a depression because of this loss. And that's meditating. The reason being, there's a lot of people that misunderstand what meditation is. So let me quickly clarify that before I move on. When you're meditating, you're not trying to focus on achieving anything. You're simply allowing yourself the space to sit and observe the breathing process that you have, to give that process some attention. You're not trying to focus on it, and create all kinds of other potential problems, because you'll get distracted. You might get annoyed by certain noises around you. You're simply trying to be an entity as if you don't even exist in this world. You're simply here observing everything inside of you and outside of you and around you through all your senses, inside and out. That is really what meditation is about. And through the process of grieving, if you can really sit there and do this a couple of times a day, you're really going to be able to overcome the mind attacks where it's trying to bring up a lot of negative emotion and things of that nature to try to get you fully involved in that process. Now, the other thing to remember is everything that you experience comes and goes. And that's the most important thing that I've understood since I've started meditating, because no matter how great or horrible I feel, no matter how perfect or terrible the situations in life, there's nothing that makes us more humble than realizing that nothing lasts forever. And there in itself lies the key which will unlock your freedom, because you know that this terrible state that you're in is not going to last forever. And I know it sucks when you lose someone, and it can feel awful because you feel like a broken person. I want to remind you that that isn't true, and it's not permanent. So I want to encourage you to meditate. Now, one thing I haven't fully touched on in this video about depression, a lot of symptoms that go alongside with grieving also exists with depression, like low appetite, lack of sleep, lack of focus, inability to concentrate on a task for long periods of time, constant distraction, you name it. People can feel all kinds of ways when they're depressed. Grieving similarly can have the same symptoms. The main difference here is when you're really depressed, you might actually see yourself existing in that state for long periods of time. We're talking 6 months, a year. Some people, it can be going on for years. That is a true distinction of someone that's very depressed versus someone that's going through a grieving state, which feels like depression. So I want you to be aware, because you got to be careful on how you label your experiences, because your mind is going to start making a story based on how you've created labels around your experience. So with all this said, I think the bottom line is to remember that either if you're grieving or you're depressed, whatever your situation might be, I really want to let you know, A, you're not alone. This is part of the human experience. And B, this too shall pass, just like everything else that you've gone through in your life that has made you tough enough to be here in this moment right now. This will also pass, and you will be able to find your path once again and find normalcy in your life once again. So I hope this helps someone out there, and I would love to hear some feedback. Let's continue this dialogue around grieving and depression, and how we always find it that we want to close ourselves in a room and not get out to the world, when that's entirely not the thing to do when you are in this state. So let's continue this dialogue in the comments. I would love to hear from any of you if this is useful. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of the Ask Abhinav Show.